Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Yesterday we ended up with the birth of three children, princes, born to three different members of the Kuru families. However, Vithura was born to the maidservant of Ambika. Therefore, Satyavati Mataji was not so pleased to have this child. However, Bhishma Dev found that child is born to Vyasadev, so he looked from that angle. She looked from the maidservant's angle. Of course, as many maidservants are there, the kings have the right to write on all the maidservants. So that is the olden policy. So here we see Vithura in his previous life was Yamaraj, who was cursed by Mantuka Muni to become a Shudra. So now he took birth as a the son of a maidservant who is always Shudra. So here we see how Bhishma Dev raised them with morality and the science of morality and ethics and martial arts and various things. He closely trained them with dharma, the knowledge of dharma. So thereafter they grown up, become young men, and they need to be married now. So Bhishma went out to Kandahar, which is Gandhara in olden time. Now it is turned into a Kandahar, which is Afghanistan. So he went there and requested for their daughter. They were not pleased initially because Dhritarashtra was blind. So why not you ask our daughter for Pandu? So but because Bhishma Dev went for a purpose that Dhritarashtra is the person for Gandhari and Gandhari is the person for Dhritarashtra. So there is no change, even though they asked him to take her for Pandu. So out of respect for Bhishma Dev, they agreed. The wedding took place. Because Gandhari was a devotee of Lord Shiva, and she had a blessings by Lord Shiva that she will have 100 sons and one daughter. So, and none of them knew how this is going to happen. It's going to be a year after year progeny, or the wholesale progeny in one shot. So, of course, that's what happened. So she gave birth to a piece of flesh, and that flesh was divided into 100 pieces and stored in a different jars. And due course of time, the children came. The beginning was Dhuryodhan. So Dhuryodhan was a nice boy whose name was, in the beginning, was Suyodhan. But because of the association with Shakuni, he was very much spoiled. So Shakuni wanted to destroy the Kuru empire because of Bhishma Dev asking his sister Gandhari for a blind person. So he loved her so much. So now he wanted to revenge by taking down the entire empire. So therefore, he cunningly moved to his sister's place and always giving crooked intelligence and advices to this kids. Meanwhile, Pandu become the king, and because of Dhritarashtra's handicapped nature, that he was not complete in his body because of blindness. So even though he was the eldest son, he was not allowed to become a king according to Vidura Nidhi. So they accepted, everybody wanted him to be the king, but Vidura Nidhi actually opposed to that. Even though Dhritarashtra was very powerful, he doesn't need eyes according to him. And Satyavati Mataji also agreed, let Dhritarashtra be the king, because if he didn't become the king, they didn't know what kind of position they should actually give to him. So if he is a king, the ministers and prime ministers and commanders can always help him from enemies coming into the kingdom. So all that he has to order. And morally and ethically, he was very educated as well. So all that he has to just say yes or no or command. And in that connection, that position, become a king could be better. But if he make him a commander or any other position, if he give them, it will be very difficult for him to execute it. So therefore, she wanted him to be the king. But Vitur said from his religious point, scientific point, philosophical point, incomplete person in his body, or bodily limbs, cannot become a king. So now he argued with all others, even though the counter arguments were there, they all got defeated. So in the end, Vidura's policy was accepted by the elders of the Kurus and made Pandu as the king. Pandu went and conquered all the places and showed his bravery and knowledge and power and opulences. He brought so much. So thereafter, the Kuru family asked him to retire for some time, because he married both Kunti and Madri. Kunti accepted Pandu in a Swayamvara, and Madri, his brother, Madradesh, they were encircled by the enemies. So the news came to Hastinapur, and Hastinapur was closely associated with Madradesh and Shalya. So the Madri's brother was Shalya, and they wanted assistance from Hastinapur. So Pandu was actually sent there, and Pandu defeated all the enemies. And in happiness, Shalya asked Pandu to marry his sister, and he gifted her to Pandu. So in their way, they had now 2 wives. He had 2 wives. So thereafter, Mother Satyavati and other members asked him to go and have some time, spend some time with his wives. So they went to the forest, and meanwhile, Madri was a little younger, so little passionate and ignorant, unlike Kunti. Kunti Mataji was always showed her maturity. First of all, she was the daughter of Surasen, and the brother was Vasudev. So Vasudev's son was Vasudev. Krishna. So the Vasudeva was a very mature personality. And of course, Mother Kundi didn't associate with her brother so much because she was gifted to Kundi Bhoj, one king, because he was friendly with Surasen, and this Kundi Bhoj was without issue. So Surasen said, I will give you this daughter as as a gift, and you accept her as your daughter and raise her. So in that way, she moved to Kundi Bhoja. So of course, the brother used to visit her, and the family used to intermingle the Yadu dynasty and Kundi Bhoja. So she was very civilized and cultured, and she was humble, and she was very, very mature. So unlike Madhuri. So Madhuri wanted a deer in the forest. So Pandu went and tried to get that deer. But unfortunately, or fortunately, it's unfortunate because everything is judged by its result. The result came opposite. So therefore, he understood his action and Madhuri's request was improper and irreligious. Why? Because the deer was Rishi kingdom, and he and his wife was actually having some amorous romantic pastimes in the deer body. So when he shot the arrow, it pierced the deers, and both of them died. Before they died, they cursed him. You are such a foolish king, you could not even actually see that we are rishis in the body of deers, and you could not even recognize that. What kind of religious king you are? You didn't even have any intuition, because I was not actually giving you the hold. I was always running in a peculiar way, and you chased me, and still you actually shot the arrow. Just like Dasharatha Maharaj shot the arrow and killed that boy. I forgot his name. Shravan, yes. Because they have by hearing the sound, they could shoot the arrow and reach the target and kill the target. So that is what happened here, which is called Shabdabedi Ban. It can actually penetrate the sound where it is coming from, and they can target there and shoot the arrow, and that can kill the enemy, generally used for killing the enemies. But here there are accidents. So before that he cursed, since I was actually trying to involve with my wife romantically, you interfered and destroyed our life. Similarly, when you approach your wife in a passionate mood or loving mood or romantic mood, if you touch her in that mood, you will die instant. So that curse was on his head. So we have to understand, even in the royal road, there is always danger. So we have to be padam yat vibadam natesham. Every step we make, when we get out of this, when you get out of the house, you always have to think how you actually get into your daily routine work carefully. The insurance and all is not going to help. Just like driving the car or bicycle or bike, you have to be very careful. You cannot think that other person will be careful, and you, if you become careless, then there can be accident. So in the daily routine of everyone's work, one has to be very vigilant, aware before they go out of the house for their professional, to meet, meeting the professional service. So this is what happens. In the Royal Road also can be so much danger. If we are not careful, we can be ended up with very, very, what do we call, dangerous situation. So we can be in precarious condition. So we can meet such dangers. So therefore we have to be very careful. But somehow or other, Sri Pandu came under the influence of his wife, and he made a mistake. And he was not actually planning to kill a deer, but it was she who insisted. Though Mother Kundi advised her that everyone is actually living soul, we shouldn't be killing unnecessarily. Of course, Kshatriyas were allowed to hunt in order to train and get their weaponry action and useful of that weaponry on some lower animals, but not for entertainment purpose. So when he tried to do, coming under her, it caused to her and them, the ladies, to be widows, and caused him, by inviting whatever the death, and he was done. So we will continue. Hare Krishna.